Jeffrey. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Mr. Jordi. What are you doing? Are you ready for the class? We're going to start with the class. I think your classmates are not going to appear, so we're going to start with this. In last class, we were studying present perfect versus simple past, right? So today we're going to start with past perfect, okay? So I want you to pay special attention to the topic. That is not difficult, but you should pay special attention, right? I guess Jeffrey has some problems. He left the class, but that's okay. So, Mr. Jordi, let's start. Are you ready, Mr. Jordi? Can you use your microphone or no? Ah, okay. Okay, I hope so because you are the only one. So, let me show that. Let's start with these. It says past perfect. So, past perfect. The past perfect, also called the pluperfect, is a verb tense used to talk about actions that were completed before some point in the past, right? So, in the past perfect, that is an action, right? That were completed before some point in the past. So that is the finished action, right? Here you have the grammar structure, the affirmative one. You're going to have first the subject, and in this case, we're not going to use has or have. Instead of that, we're going to use the past, that is had, right? And also the past participle of the main verb, right? Also the complement. For example, you had studied English before you moved to New York. So that's an action that happened in the past and finished in a certain period in the past, right? So you had studied English before you moved to New York. So here, if you notice here, you have the subject. Then this could be like the auxiliary, right? Had in past. And also here you have the verb, the main verb in past participle, right? So also we have the negative form, subject plus had plus not plus past participle and also the complement. For example, you had not studied English before you moved to New York. So again, here you have the subject, that is you, then had, right? Then the word not, plus the past participle of the main verb. In this case, you have studied English before you moved to New York. So you had not studied English before you moved to New York. That will be the negative structure of past perfect. Also, we can have just no questions. First, we're going to have the auxiliary had, then the subject, and the past participle plus the complement, and don't forget the question mark at the end, okay? So, had you studied English before you moved to New York? So there you have first had plus subject plus the verb in past participle. In this case, that is a regular one that's going to add IED, right? and the complement, and also the question mark at the end. If you have an affirmative answer, you're going to have just then the subject and the auxiliary had. If it is negative, no, then the subject and also had not or hadn't. That would be like the short form there. So, yes, I had, or no, I hadn't. So that is a yes, no question. What about WH question? First, you're going to have the WH word that will be which, when, how, why, right? Then had plus the subject, then the main verb in past participle plus the complement, and don't forget the question mark. Remember that these kind of questions you should answer them completely. Here you have the example. What had he brought before the principal arrived? So first you have what, that will be the WH question or WH word, sorry. Then you have had, the auxiliary, he, the subject, and you have brought, that is the past participle of the main verb, complement, and question mark. So the answer, he had brought a book before the principal arrived, right? So if you notice here, you have a complete answer, right? So what had he brought before the principal arrived? He had brought a book before the principal arrived. So this is an affirmative sentence then, right? So there you have the structure of the. So complete actions before something in the past. So, Mr. Jordi, can you read that, please?
The past perfect expresses the idea that something occurred before another action in the past. It can also show that something happened before a specific time in the past.
Excellent. So we're going to use the past perfect for completing action before something in the past. So it says the past perfect expresses an idea that occurred before another action but still in the past. Here you have this, like you have the simple past here, the present, and also the future. And you're going to use the past perfect, that is something that occurred here, maybe in the middle of the past, we can say, but still continue in the past, not in the present as the present perfect, right? So here, there is an action that happened in or occurred before another action in the past. So still continues here in the past, right? So examples. I have never seen such a beautiful beach before I went to Kauai, right? So that is an action that occurred before another action, right? Before I went to Kauai, right? So in the past, right? So past perfect. Tony knew New York so well because he had visited the city several times, right? So also there you have another example. I did not have any money because I had lost my wallet. So I did not have, that is past, right? That's why I did not have any money because I have lost my wallet. So that's an action that happened before another action in the past. Or she only understood the movie because she had read the book. So that would be another example, right? She understood the movie because she had read the book, right? So first she read the book, right? And then she understood the movie now. Not now, but in the past, right? So duration before something in the past, non-continuous verb. With non-continuous verb and some non-continuous uses of mixed verbs, we use the past perfect to show that something started in the past and continued until another action but in the past. Here you have this. That's something happened here in the past, right? Or show something that started here in the past and continue until another action but in the past also, right? So, for example, we had that car for 10 years before it broke down, right? Or you can say they felt bad about selling the house because they had owned it for more than 40 years. So that would be also an example using non-continuous verb there, right? So also specific time with the past perfect. Unlike with the present perfect, it is possible to use specific time words or phrases with the past perfect. So also, there, right? You have something that's started in the past and continue until another action in the past, right? So also we can use phrases with the past perfect as we do with the other tenses. For example, here, she had visited her Japanese relatives once in 1993 before she moved in with them in 1996. So if you notice here, we're using also the year, right? So also before we do another action, also we can use that. Or she visited her Japanese relatives once in 1993 before she moved in with them in 1996. I guess that's almost the same, right? There, that is the example. Also, we have adverb placement. The examples below show the placement for grammar adverbs, such as, the adverbs, right? The adverbs can modify an adjective, a verb, and another adverb, right? Remember that. Here you have some adverbs: always, only, never, ever, still, just, etc. There are many adverbs that you can use. For example, you had previously studied English before you moved to New York. So in this case, you have first the subject, then you're going to have the auxiliary, and after the auxiliary, you're going to write down the adverb previously, right? Then you're going to have the main verb in past participle complement. So you had previously studied English before you moved to New York, right? Had you previously studied English before you moved to New York? This is a yes/no question. So in this case, look, first of all, you're going to have the auxiliary had, then the subject, you, then you're going to write down the adverb previously, then the main verb in past participle, a complement, and also the question mark. So don't forget the placement or where are you going to write that. So there you have that. I'm going to make like a little review. Here you have this. The grammar worksheet past perfect. Here you have the subjects and the auxiliary had, also the verb in past participle, and then you have the complement. Also, you can have the, like that, you can say long form, right? Had not, or also the short one that hadn't, right? So I had not eaten, or you can say I hadn't eaten, right? Also, here you have that just no question. First of all, the auxiliary, then the subject, the verb in past participle, complement, and question mark. Also, if you're going to answer in an affirmative way, you can say yes, I had, or no. For example, I had not, or not, I hadn't, right? So, you know this. Here you have the first example. It says, study the boxes above, then complete the sentences. This is a yes, no question. So you know that first you should use here the auxiliary had. Here you have the subject, that is Jim. Ever, that will be what? The adverb, right? Then you have fly between parentheses, and you know, I guess, you know, right? That the verb fly in past participle is flown, right? So, had Jean ever flown before his fly last week? So, this is an affirmative answer. So, you should say, yes, he had. And that would be the answer there. So, have Ginevra flown before his flight last week? Yes, he had, right? So, I want you to complete these sentences using the verb that you have between parentheses, and then we're going to check the answers together. Okay? So be careful when you have a no, that will be a negative one, right? So, guys, work on those sentences. You're going to have around 4 minutes. 4 minutes for you to finish and complete those sentences. Okay? Remember, if you have questions, just raise your hand and I will help you. Okay? So work, guys. Okay, guys, let's check the answers. What about number 2? Your sister ate breakfast before she left. Which could be this one? Yes?
Had, teacher?
Had, yes, that would be. So, had your sister what, Jeffrey? What is the past participle of it? Uh-huh. Had your sister eaten, right? Breakfast before she left. No, that is a negative one, so she hadn't. You can say that she hadn't or she had not, right? So, had your sister eaten breakfast before she left? No, she hadn't, right? Good. What about number 3? Mr. Gardy, James said he already did movie last year.
Jane said she has already seen the movie last year.
It's seen, right? So James said he had already seen the movie last year. Perfect, thank you. Marjorie, number 4. I got lost because I forget to bring a map. Which could be that, Marjorie?
Had 14.
Okay, had, right? I had. So here you have forgotten, right? Forgotten. That would be the past participle there. So I got lost because I had forgotten, right, to bring a map. Nice. Thank you, Marjorie. That's great. Jeffrey or Justin,
They haven't studied English before last year.
excellent. Studied English before last year. So they hadn't or had not, that is almost the same, studying English before last year. Nice, thank you. What about this one? She in Leeds before she moved to London. So in that case, she had, right? What about this one? Here you have another. The baby fell asleep before 8 o'clock. Marjorie, do you have that? No?
Had fallen asleep.
Okay, the baby, right, had fallen asleep. That would be that one. Perfect. So the baby had fallen asleep before 8 o'clock. Excellent. Thank you, Marjorie. Mr. Jordi, I not think of that question before.
I hadn't thought of that question before.
Amazing, right? So, no, I hadn't thought, right? That would be thought of that question before. Nice. Thank you. What about this one? Sue got wet because she, no green, an umbrella. Justin? Do you have that one, Justin? Sue got wet because she, not? No? So that's the negative one. So hadn't brought. In that way. Brought, right, an umbrella. Yes. 10. He owned his car for a year before he sold it. Marjorie, do you have that one? He what?
Had owned
his car for a year before he sold it. Excellent. Nice, Marjorie. Thank you. Mr. Jordi, 11. I didn't notice that the traffic light turned red.
I didn't notice the traffic light had turned red.
Don't forget had turned red, right? So I didn't notice that the traffic light had turned red. Okay, nice. Ordered. Oh, he had ordered, right? He had ordered rice, but the waiter served him soup, right? So there you have the answers, right? I don't know if you have questions about that. Do you have any common questions, Mr. Jordi, Justin, Marjorie? I guess Jeffrey, no?
No, teacher.
Okay, thank you. So, let's continue. Let's do another exercise about that. Here you have this. It says, Mark is telling his sister Eve about his friend's garden party. use the words from the box to complete their dialogue. Here you have a dialogue, right? So I want you to use these words in order to complete those sentences. Remember that you're going to use the past perfect. Here you have never be, it, no bite, never meet, no it. Those will be negative, right? Played, not drink, no have, and finished. So, did you enjoy the party? Not at all, right? So, to such a party before, it was a disaster. So, not at all. So, you can use I had never been, right, to such a party before. It was a disaster. So, we use never be in that case, right? So, I want you to complete that conversation, right, using those verbs that you have there, okay? So you're going to have 4 minutes for you to complete those sentences, and then we're going to check them together. Don't forget to raise your hand if you have questions, okay? So work 4 minutes, 4 minutos. Here you have this. Did you enjoy the party? Not at all. I have never been to such a party before. It was a disaster. A disaster. Exactly. When I arrived at the party, they what?
Have eaten.
Had eaten, yes, right? So when I arrived at the party, they had eaten all the sausages. There was nothing to eat, right? That's terrible. So then enough, right? Which could be here. You know the answer? Marjorie, Justin, Mr. Jordi there, which could be? No? So that is negative, right? Hadn't they, that's a question, bought, no be. So, hadn't they bought enough sausages for everyone? No, they hadn't. The house was full of people. What?
I have never met before.
In that case, Mr. Jordi, meet or met?
Meet.
Meet is in present, but we need to use the past participle here. So, I have never met. Sorry, not met, right? Before. So, you were hungry all afternoon. I was pretty hungry.
Haven't eaten.
Excellent. I hadn't eaten anything before I left home. Did you dance? No, I didn't. There was a DJ at the party, but after he, what? After he
Had played.
Yes, Mr. George. So, no, I didn't. There was a DJ at the party, but after he had played a couple of songs, he disappeared. What did you do then? Fortunately, they what? Wine there.
Have not drunk.
X had not drunk, right? all the wine before I came. I had 2 or 3 glasses of red wine and went home, right? So, Mark, you told me you what? Had not had anything to eat. You must have got drunk. To tell me the truth, to tell the truth, when I what?
Have finished.
Excellent. Had finished, right? The third glass, I felt a little bit dizzy, but I am alright now. Am I not? Right? So, I want you to read these conversation. So, um, Marjorie, you're going to be Eve, right? And Mr. Jordi, you're going to be Mark. Yes? So please read the conversation. Go ahead. Marjorie, Eve, and Mr. Jordi, you are Mark. Okay?
Okay.
Nice. Go ahead, guys.
Did you enjoy the party?
Not at all. I have never been to such a party before. It was a disaster.
And disaster?
Exactly. When I arrived at the party, they had eaten all the sausages. There was nothing to eat.
Have not they cooked enough sanger for everyone?
No, they hadn't. The house was full of people I had never met before.
So you were under a fun afternoon.
I was pretty hungry. I hadn't eaten anything before I left the house.
Did you dance?
No, I didn't. There was a DJ at the party, but after he had played a couple of songs, he disappeared.
What did you do then?
Fortunately, they had not drunk all the wine before I came. I had 2 or 3 glasses of red wine and went home.
March, you do mean you have not had on day or acts you must a good drink.
To tell the truth, when I had finished the third glass, I felt a little bit dizzy, but I am all right now. I am not.
Excellent. Nice. Very good. Thank you. Start.
Did you enjoy the party?
Not at all. I have never been to such a party before. It was a disaster.
A disaster?
Exactly. When I arrived at the party, they had eaten all the sausages. There was nothing to eat.
Can't they both much sense for everyone?
No, they hadn't. The house was full of people I have never met before.
So you were hungry at afternoon.
I was pretty hungry. I hadn't eaten anything before I left home.
Did you dance?
No, I didn't. There was a DJ at the party, but after he had played a couple of songs, he disappeared.
What did you do then?
Fortunately, they had not drank all the wine before I came. I had 2 or 3 glasses of red wine and went home.
Mark, you told me you had not had. I think to a you must have got drunk.
To tell the truth, when I had finished the third glass, I felt a little bit dizzy. But I am alright now. Am I not? Okay, excellent, very good. So don't forget the pronunciation of the verbs in past participle, also in past, right? Been, eaten, bought. Oh, here I have a mistake. It's bought with T. So haven't they bought enough, right? Also eaten, right? Also there you have met, played, right? Drank, had, finished, right? So don't forget that. Okay, so guys, let's do the last exercise for today. We're going to listen to an audio, and after that, we're going to answer some questions about that audio, right? So let's listen to the audio 2 times, right? After that, we're going to answer those questions about the audio, okay? So right now, we're going to hear the audio and then you're going to answer those questions, okay? Here you have the first one. It says, why was Anne excited about the party? She was bored, she was late, or she wanted to meet someone there. 2. What did she have to go back to change her clothes? It was raining, she had a hole in her tights, or her shoes were dirty. Why did her car stop? It had run out of petrol, it had a flat tire, or it broken down. 4. Where was her mobile phone? In her handbag? On the floor? Next to her bed? Or charging up with electricity? 5. How late was she for the party? 45 minutes, more than 3 hours, or about 2 hours? When she finally arrived at the party, where was the person she wanted to meet? He had just gone, right? Or he had just arrived too late. Let's move a little bit this one. Okay, there you have it. Okay, so now we're going to listen to the audio and then...
Days when everything seemed to go wrong. I'm sure you have, I know I have. I remember one particular day, I'd been invited to a party and there was someone going who I'd never met, but I really wanted to meet. So I was quite excited about going to this party. And I maybe spent a little bit too long getting ready. I was a bit late as I was leaving the house, but not too late. But then I looked down and saw I had a hole in my tights. So I had to go back inside, change my tights, come out again. So I was getting a little bit late for the party, but not too bad. I got in my car, started driving. About halfway to the party, my car stopped. I couldn't understand what was the matter until I looked at the petrol gauge. It had run out of petrol. Why? Oh, because I'd lent my car to my son the day before, and he'd used the petrol and he hadn't filled the car up. So I thought I'd ring the AA. So I looked in my handbag to find my mobile phone, but I couldn't find it. Why? Because I'd left it next to my bed, charging. So even though it was pouring with rain, I had to get out of the car, in my party clothes, walk to the petrol station and come back with petrol, by which time I was nearly 2 hours late. So I was so flustered about being late, I started to drive, and I just took a wrong turn. And I ended up on this one-way system, totally lost, driving round and round for at least 45 minutes before I managed to get my bearings. So finally, I arrived at the party over 3 hours late. And when I arrived, the person I wanted to meet had just left. All the food had gone, and my host was horribly drunk. I was so disappointed that I just turned around and left and went back home. Have you ever had a terrible day like that when everything went wrong? If you have, write and tell us about it.
Okay, let's listen to the second time.
Hi, have you ever had one of those days when everything seemed to go wrong? I'm sure you have, I know I have. I remember one particular day, I'd been invited to a party, and there was someone going who I'd never met, but I really wanted to meet. So I was quite excited about going to this party. And I maybe spent a little bit too long getting ready. I was a bit late as I was leaving the house, but not too late. But then I looked down and saw I had a hole in my tights. So I had to go back inside, change my tights, come out again. So I was getting a little bit late for the party, but not too bad. I got in my car, started driving. About halfway to the party, my car stopped. I couldn't understand what was the matter until I looked at the petrol gauge. It had run out of petrol. Why? Oh, because I'd lent my car to my son the day before, and he'd used the petrol and he hadn't filled the car up. So I thought I'd ring the AA. So I looked in my handbag to find my mobile phone, but I couldn't find it. Why? Because I'd left it next to my bed, charging. So even though it was pouring with rain, I had to get out of the car, in my party clothes, walk to the petrol station and come back with petrol, by which time I was nearly 2 hours late. So I was so frustrated about being late, I started to drive, and I just took a wrong turn. And I ended up on this one-way system, totally lost, driving round and round for at least 45 minutes before I managed to get my bearings. So finally, I arrived at the party over 3 hours late. And when I arrived, the person I wanted to meet had just left. All the food had gone, and my host was horribly drunk. I was so disappointed that I just turned around and left and went back home. Have you ever had a terrible day like that when everything went wrong? If you have, write and tell us about it when everything seemed to go wrong. I'm sure you have, I know I have. I remember one particular day, I'd been invited to a party, and there was someone going who I'd never met, but I really wanted to meet. So I was quite excited about going to this party. And I maybe spent a little bit too long getting ready. I was a bit late as I was leaving the house, but not too late. But then I looked down and saw I had a hole in my tights. So I had to go back inside, change my tights, come out again. So I was getting a little bit late for the party, but not too bad. I got in my car, started driving. About halfway to the party, my car stopped. I couldn't understand what was the matter until I looked at the petrol gauge. It had run out of petrol. Why? Oh, because I'd lent my car to my son the day before, and he'd used the petrol and he hadn't filled the car up. So I thought I'd ring the AA. So I looked in my handbag to find my mobile phone, but I couldn't find it. Why? Because I'd left it next to my bed, charging. So even though it was pouring with rain, I had to get out of the car, in my party clothes, walk to the petrol station and come back with petrol, by which time I was nearly 2 hours late. So I was so frustrated about being late, I started to drive, and I just took a wrong turn. And I ended up on this one-way system, totally lost, driving round and round for at least 45 minutes before I managed to get my bearings. So finally, I arrived at the party over 3 hours late. And when I arrived, the person I wanted to meet had just left. All the food had gone, and my host was horribly drunk. I was so disappointed that I just turned around and left and went back home. Have you ever had a terrible day like that when everything went wrong? If you have, write and tell us about it.
Okay, So guys, let's try to answer those questions. Here you have the number one. Why was Anne excited about the party? A, B, or C? Which could be the answer for that one?
See,
Letter C, yes, right? So she wanted to meet someone there, right? So what did she have to go back to change her clothes? It was raining, she had a hole in her tights, or her shoes were dirty. Which would be the answer for that?
she had a hole in her thigh.
Excellent. She had a hole in her thighs. Good of her, right? Good. Nice, Mr. Jordi. What about three? Why did her car stop? It had run out of petrol. You know, petrol is like gas. And letter B, it had a flat tire. What?
Letter A.
Letter A, right? It had run out of petrol, right? So that would be letter A in that case. Good. Four. Where was her mobile phone? In her handbag, on the floor, or next to her bed, charging up with electricity? A,
Next to her bed.
letter C, right? So next to her bed, charging up with electricity. Nice. 5. How late was she for the party? 45 minutes, more than 3 hours, or about 2 hours? What do you think there?
More than 3 hours.
More than 3 hours, right? Put of hair. That's good. And the last one. When she finally arrived at the party, where was the person she wanted to meet? He had just gone, he was eating all the food, or he had just arrived late too.
She had just gone.
X. He had just gone, right? So, Mr. Jordi, have you ever had a terrible day like Anne? Have you ever had a terrible day?
Sometimes
For example? What happened?
I was late to a class.
Oh, to a class. Really? And what happened? Did you receive the class or do you take it or no?
I did, but I lost almost 30 minutes of the class.
30 minutes. Oh, that's a terrible loss, right? Okay, that's good. Excellent. So, I don't know, guys. If you have questions, do you have questions? Any comments about past perfect? Was it easy? Was it difficult? What do you think about that? What do you think about that? Do you have questions, Mr. Yord? No?
No, teacher.
Mr. Jordi, can you please tell me an example using past perfect? Affirmative one. No?
I have my shirt black.
I have had. No? Can you repeat it, please? Sorry, I couldn't listen to you well. Can you repeat it, Mr. Jordi, please?
I have had my glasses on.
Okay, I have had my classes this morning. Okay, there will be one. Nice. What about a negative one? Marjorie, can you give me one? A negative sentence? No? Or Justin, maybe? No? Okay. So, guys. Okay, Jeffrey, tell me. A negative one. No, Jeffrey?
What teacher?
A negative sentence? Una negativa? That's an example. Using past perfect. Which could be one? Uh-huh. Can you give me one, please?
La teacher?
No. Un ejemplo utilizando una oración negativa con pasado perfecto. Which one would be? Yes?
Yes, teacher.
Okay. Okay. For that one, Jeffrey.
They
They.
had a student in English before last year.
Okay, they hadn't studied, right? Now we hadn't or had not studied English before last week or last year. Okay, that will be one. Nice. So, remember to practice to study the past perfect because the first evaluation is going to be about that past perfect. Okay, so try to study, try to practice a lot, and if you have any doubt about it, you can look for more information if you want, right? And also, please try to practice listening comprehension exercises. So, I will send you a link where you can practice some listening comprehensions. Okay, I will send you that link, and also we can say dictionary, word reference dictionary, right? So try to practice a lot, and also reading comprehension and your speaking skill. Try to work on that, okay? So guys, I guess we're going to finish the class a little bit early, and I don't know if you have questions. Do you have questions, comments? No? Oh, something that I want to tell you. And we are in model 2, right? So, since last week, we're in model 2. So, if you didn't do, right, your evaluation, sorry, but you're not going to have more time for that. So, try to get good grades this second model, okay? So guys, see you next week. Have a nice weekend. Take care a lot. Study, practice, and bye bye, guys.
Goodbye, teacher.
Goodbye, take care. Bye bye, Mr. Jordi. See you.
Bye bye, teacher.
Bye, Marjorie.
Bye, teacher.
Bye bye, Justin. Take care.